the perspective that 99% of people ignore. While the world fixates on individual battlefields, Ukraine's trenches, Gaza's rubble, Sudan's humanitarian catastrophe, there is one staggering reality that 99% of analysts are missing. 2025 has become the year of orchestrated global chaos, with more active state-based conflicts than at any time since World War II. But here's what no one dares to say. This isn't coincidental. This is systematic. The mainstream narrative focuses on each conflict's immediate causes: Putin's territorial ambitions, Middle Eastern religious tensions, African resource disputes, but when looking at it from the opposite perspective, a disturbing pattern emerges. Someone, or rather multiple someones, are deliberately maintaining global instability because chaos has become the most profitable business model in human history. What no one dare to say: the conflict maintenance industry, while diplomats issue statements about seeking peace. There exists a shadow economy specifically designed to prevent conflicts from ending. This isn't about starting wars, that's too obvious and traceable. This is about sustaining them at optimal intensity levels. Consider this reverse analysis. If you wanted to maximize profits from global instability, what would be the perfect scenario? Not total war, which disrupts all commerce, nor complete peace, which eliminates demand for security services. The sweet spot is controlled chaos, multiple medium-intensity conflicts that never quite resolve, creating permanent demand for weapons, private security reconstruction contracts, and crisis management services. The evidence is hiding in plain sight. Defense contractor stock prices have reached record highs not during peak fighting, but during conflict sustenance phases. Private military companies report their highest revenues not from active combat contracts, but from long-term security management agreements. Reconstruction firms preposition assets in conflict zones not after war's end, but during ongoing hostilities. The silent winners follow the money flows. The first silent winner is the global security industrial complex. Not just weapons manufacturers, but an entire ecosystem of chaos profiteers that most analysts overlook. Resource extraction cartels. While conflicts rage in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, and other resource-rich regions, certain mining consortiums have quietly secured extraction rights at drastically reduced prices. The DRC's ongoing instability isn't a barrier to resource extraction. It's a feature that eliminates regulatory oversight and environmental protections. Coltan lithium and rare earth elements flow out of conflict zones at unprecedented rates, feeding the global technology supply chain. Financial crisis arbitrators. Major investment funds have developed sophisticated models for profiting from currency instability, sovereign debt crises, and humanitarian disasters. They're not betting against specific countries. They're betting on sustained volatility itself. When Ukraine's currency fluctuates wildly, when Middle Eastern oil prices spike, when African currencies collapse, these arbitrators extract billions in profits from the very instability that devastates populations. The migration management industrial complex. This is perhaps the most sinister silent winner. A network of organizations profits from every stage of refugee crises, from transportation companies moving people across borders, to security firms managing detention centers, to legal services processing asylum claims, to reconstruction companies rebuilding abandoned cities. The longer conflicts persist, the more profitable this entire ecosystem becomes. When looking at it from the opposite perspective, the timing isn't random. Why 2025? Why are all these conflicts reaching crisis points simultaneously? The reverse thinking answer is chilling, because this is precisely when global power structures needed reshuffling. The old post-Cold War order, dominated by American hegemony and international institutions, had become too stable for certain actors. Stability reduces profit margins in chaos-dependent industries. So a deliberate destabilization campaign began around 2020 to 2021, timed to coincide with several factors: the technology transition window, as artificial intelligence and quantum computing reshape military capabilities. Traditional defense contractors needed justification for massive R&D investments. Perpetual conflicts provide that justification while field testing new technologies on real populations. The energy transition leverage point. As the world shifts toward renewable energy, fossil fuel-dependent economies needed to maximize revenue during their final profitable decades. Sustained conflicts in energy-producing regions accomplish this by maintaining artificial scarcity and price volatility. The demographic crisis management. Major powers facing aging populations and declining birth rates need external threats to justify authoritarian measures and military spending increases. Multiple simultaneous conflicts provide perfect pretexts for reducing civil liberties and increasing state power. The big picture that only outsiders can see. The conflict synchronization pattern. Here's the connection that 99% of analysts miss. These conflicts aren't isolated events. They're synchronized to create maximum global disruption while preventing any single conflict from becoming so severe that it forces international intervention. The pattern is clear when viewed from outside the chessboard. Phase 1, 2022 to 2023 initiate major conflicts in strategically important regions, Ukraine, Gaza, to capture global attention and resources. Phase 2, 2024 escalate secondary conflicts in resource-rich areas, Sudan, DRC, while maintaining primary conflicts at sustainable intensity levels. Phase 3, 2025 present introduce tertiary conflicts and tensions, Iran-Israel escalation, Taiwan Strait tensions, to strain global crisis response capabilities beyond their breaking point. Phase 4, 2026 to 2027 projected maintain all conflicts simultaneously at medium intensity, while international institutions collapse from overload, creating opportunities for new power structures to emerge. The truth behind the smoke of information. Who's really coordinating? This isn't a traditional conspiracy with a single mastermind. It's a convergence of interests among multiple actors who benefit from global chaos, coordinating not through secret meetings but through market mechanisms and mutually beneficial timing. The coordination happens through three primary channels. Financial synchronization. Major investment funds and sovereign wealth funds coordinate their positions to profit from predictable instability patterns. When one conflict shows signs of resolution, another conveniently escalates technology transfer networks. The same technologies, weapons systems, and tactical approaches appear across multiple conflict zones with suspicious timing, suggesting coordinated testing and deployment schedules. Information warfare coordination. Social media manipulation. Disinformation campaigns and narrative management across different conflicts show remarkable similarity in timing and methodology, indicating shared resources and coordination. What if everything we know about these conflicts is a smokescreen? The reverse thinking question that changes everything. What if the apparent chaos is actually perfect order, designed to look random while serving specific strategic objectives? Consider this possibility. The real war isn't between nations or ethnic groups. The real war is between those who profit from stability, traditional governments, international institutions, civilian populations, and those who profit from instability, chaos capitalists, authoritarian movements, crisis profiteers. From this perspective, every individual conflict becomes a tactical engagement in a larger strategic campaign to reshape global power structures. Ukraine isn't just fighting Russia, it's fighting a proxy for forces that want to prove democratic resilience has limits. Sudan isn't experiencing civil war, it's being deliberately fragmented to facilitate resource extraction. The Middle East isn't seeing religious conflict. It's being restructured to create permanent instability that justifies external intervention. The next move in the 10-step chess game based on historical patterns of chaos capitalism. Here's what the next 18 months will likely bring. Conflict expansion. Late 2025, new conflicts will emerge in Central Asia and Southeast Asia to complete the global chaos network. These won't be random. They'll target specific choke points in global supply chains. Institution paralysis. early 2026, the United Nations Security Council will become completely non-functional as it faces more simultaneous crises than it can process. This institutional collapse is the goal, not an unintended consequence. Alternative order emergence. Mid-2026, new international institutions will be proposed by current neutral parties who have quietly positioned themselves as stability providers. These institutions will have different rules that benefit chaos profiteers. Controlled resolution phase. 2027, some conflicts will begin resolving through reconstruction contracts that were negotiated years in advance. The same actors who profited from destruction will profit from rebuilding. If this prediction is correct, we will witness the birth of a new world order within 24 months, the ultimate reverse-thinking insight. What appears to be global collapse is actually global restructuring. The chaos isn't destroying the international system. It's upgrading it to serve different masters. The new system won't be based on national sovereignty, international law, or democratic institutions. It will be based on chaos management, the ability to profit from instability while providing just enough stability to prevent complete collapse. This explains why traditional diplomatic solutions keep failing. They're not supposed to succeed. The current conflicts aren't problems to be solved. They're features of a new operating system being installed on the global political matrix. Who is the only one who doesn't want these wars to end? The most disturbing reverse-thinking question of all. Why haven't any major conflicts actually ended despite massive international efforts and resources? The answer lies in identifying who consistently opposes peace processes across multiple conflicts simultaneously. It's not individual nation-states or ethnic groups. Their interests vary. It's the chaos maintenance industry that spans borders, ideologies, and traditional power structures. This industry includes defense contractors who need testing grounds, private security firms who need unstable regions to patrol, reconstruction companies who need destroyed infrastructure to rebuild, commodity traders who need supply disruptions to maintain price volatility, and financial institutions who need crisis-driven investment opportunities. Most importantly, it includes a new class of global elites whose power depends not on controlling stable territories but on managing unstable networks. They don't want to rule countries, they want to profit from the spaces between countries, in the gray zones where traditional governance has broken down. Why this small detail is more important than the headlines everyone is focusing on while media outlets count casualties and track front lines. They're missing the most significant development: the normalization of permanent conflict as background conditions for human existence. This normalization isn't accidental. It's psychological conditioning for a new global system where stability is no longer expected, where crisis response becomes more important than crisis prevention, and where populations become grateful for basic security instead of demanding prosperity and freedom. The real victory isn't military, it's psychological. Once populations accept that permanent conflict is normal, they'll accept any authority that promises to manage that conflict effectively, regardless of that authority's democratic legitimacy or respect for human rights. The future shock that no one is preparing for if this analysis is correct. The greatest danger isn't any individual conflict escalating out of control. The greatest danger is all conflicts being controlled too effectively, creating a managed chaos system that becomes self-perpetuating and impossible to escape. We're not heading toward World War III. We're heading toward something far more sophisticated: permanent global crisis management, where conflicts never quite end but never quite escalate beyond manageable levels. This system will be more profitable and more politically useful than either war or peace. The question isn't whether this future can be prevented. The question is whether enough people can recognize it before it becomes irreversible. Because once the infrastructure of perpetual conflict becomes fully operational, dismantling it will require a level of international cooperation that the system itself is designed to make impossible. The chess game isn't being played for territory or ideology. It's being played for the right to define what normal looks like for the next century of human existence. And so far, the chaos architects are winning.